Hey there, fellow nerds and tech geeks on Podcast Awesome, where we like to talk about icons, design, tech, business, and nerdery. And today we'll be going off script just a little bit in an episode that's just for fun and that fits squarely, definitely into the nerd category. Because we're going to be diving deep into the lore of Ballmer's Peak, a phenomenon that's part myth, part meme, but most importantly, awesomely entertaining. So grab your beverage of choice, though you might want to stick with coffee for now as we unravel this peculiar intersection of programming and, well, party time. Let's get a party going, let's get a party going. When it's time to party, we will always party hard. Okay, so picture this. It's 3 a.m. in a dimly lit office and a developer is staring at their screen, trying to crack an impossible bug they've been working at forever. And they reach for their beverage, take a big swig, and suddenly, blammo! The code starts flowing like poetry, and for one brief, shining moment, everything in the programming universe starts to come together and make perfect sense. Ladies and gentlemen, this sparkly moment is what is known as the Ballmer's Peak. Ballmer Peak is a humorous concept invented by Randall Munroe in the XKCD webcomic, claiming that a programmer who is appropriately intoxicated can achieve a high level of productivity. The concept loosely tied to former Microsoft CEO Steve Ballmer and is likely a play on Ballmer's series of hydrogen spectral lines named for the scientist Johann Ballmer. But wait just a second before you raid the office kegerator. Let me explain why this phenomenon shares its name with one of tech's most energetic personalities. But maybe I should back up a little bit. I, for one, was not aware of this particular phenomenon until about, I'd say 2 years ago when I attended a Font Awesome Snuggle. And we know that Snuggle sounds a little bit creepy, but it's not. It's just our funny name for our offsite in-person meetup that we go to twice a year. Anyway, at the Font Awesome Snuggle, we like to have a good time, and that involves a good bit of humor among the team. Well, during a particularly riotous outing among the team at a local dinner spot, the phrase Ballmer's Peak started to get thrown around pretty liberally as the evening progressed. Someone would exclaim with a smirk on their face, "Uh-oh, so-and-so's about to hit that Ballmer's Peak again." And then I started to put it together. When this particular person had consumed a few libations, this ordinarily mild-mannered guy started cracking more jokes. He became more animated, and he started stringing together some pretty interesting tongue-in-cheek conspiracy theories. So now it's an ongoing joke at the Snuggles that when Miller time rolls around, it's time for Ballmer's Peak comedy. Welcome to Miller time. It's all yours and it's all mine. Bring your thirsty self right here. You've got the time, we've got the beer. And as an aside, just so we're covering all of our bases, we are responsible citizens and adults, and we do not advocate alcohol abuse. And really, our social time here between our teammates at the Snuggle are a pretty mild-mannered affair. I mean, come on. Our idea of a raging good time is a round of Star Wars Unlimited that runs until about 10:15. Okay, so back to what is officially considered Ballmer's Peak. So where did the idea originally come from? Well, Steve Ballmer, Microsoft's former CEO, is what you'd get if you somehow combined, I don't know, I'm thinking motivational speaker Matt Foley.
Now, as your father probably told you, my name is Matt Foley, and I am a motivational speaker.
Or Tornado and somebody who has had way too many espresso shots, and you wrap that up into one human being. This is a guy who once entered a company meeting by literally bursting through a paper wall like the Kool-Aid Man. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But maybe Ballmer's most iconic moment was the legendary developers chant.
The key to success is developers, 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 developers. Developers, 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 developers. Yes!
And that's not edited, folks. That's just pure, unfiltered Ballmer energy. He wasn't just excited about developers. He was excited about developers. And if that's not the kind of energy you want associated with ushering a technological world domination, I don't know what to tell you, man. Okay, so according to the completely not peer-reviewed, totally not real studies documented in the famous XKCD comic, the Ballmer peak occurs at a blood alcohol concentration between 0.129% and 0.138%. And that's a range that's so specific it almost sounds scientific. Okay, so let's break down the research here. Below the peak, your code works, but it's about as exciting as vanilla JavaScript. But within the peak, you're suddenly writing elegant algorithms that would make Donald Knuth weep with joy. But above the peak, your variable names are now just basically different spellings of potato, and you've somehow converted your entire code base to COBOL. The beauty of the Ballmer peak legend is how it's evolved over time in developer culture. It's become shorthand for those magical moments when everything just clicks. We've all had that experience where the solution just comes to us in the shower or while you're walking the dog or washing the dishes, or my personal favorite, right as we're explaining the problem to a rubber duck. And that's really what the Ballmer peak represents, the idea that sometimes our best work happens when we stop overthinking and let our minds loosen up a bit. Though preferably not by testing the peak's exact blood alcohol parameters. Of course, this raises the question, what actually helps developers reach their peak performance? To find out, I reached out to some of my coworkers to see what they had to say.
So Isaac took to our Slack channel to check in with the team how they hit the peak. And Corey said, "That's a very personal question, Isaac." To which Isaac responded, "Good, then that's the good stuff we need." Corey says, "Well, it starts with Celine Dion on loop and ends with some kind of alcohol and a shit ton of code that either works or gets deleted." Wait, what was the question again? Lindsay says, "My answer is a VA Energy and closing Slack." That seems like a healthy choice, Lindsay. Mike, always on point, says that he listens to Meshuggah. Okay, here's Corey's real answer. "I'm not really sure how to reach peak every time, but a distraction-free area, the right music, usually upbeat and with less vocals. And lately I've been exploring lighting variations. If I turn the main office lights off, switch to dark mode, and turn on my light bar, that seems to give me a big boost. Turning off notifications, especially for emails and other async things, is also a must to stay in the zone. And while Celine Dion has some bangers, she's usually not my go-to for this." All right, thanks, guys.
The real lesson here, everyone has their own peak, their own optimal state of crushing code and solving problems. It's after a good workout or during your third cup of coffee. And yes, even while channeling your inner Steve Ballmer while you're shouting developers to your rubber duck. The Ballmer peak has spawned countless memes, several questionable hackathon experiments, and yes, a company that actually created a DIY breathalyzer so that you can test your blood alcohol level on the job. Meet micro masterminds behind a DIY breathalyzer project created to help you test the fabled Ballmer peak with actual data. Microelectronica is a company known for its microcontroller development tools, but they decided to take a playful spin on programming productivity with their custom breathalyzer kit. So you can picture the scene. Imagine you're coding while you're enjoying a nice frothy beverage and you wonder to yourself, have I hit that mythical sweet spot? Microelectronica's kit lets you measure your blood alcohol content with the idea of correlating it with your productivity. While they didn't exactly create a Nobel-winning machine learning model to identify this peak, the breathalyzer still offers a hands-on fun way to explore the Ballmer lore. Microelectronica sure knows how to add a dose of humor into the tech world with their Ballmer-inspired gadget. And who knows, maybe this is just how all great inventions start. All right, folks, I'd say that's about a wrap. The tale of the Ballmer Peak, where legend meets laptop and enthusiasm meets enthusiasm. And remember, while the peak might be mythical, the lesson is real. Sometimes the best solutions come when you loosen up a little bit, think differently, and maybe, just maybe, channel a little bit of that Ballmer energy. Until next time, keep coding, stay curious, and remember that if you find yourself naming variables after potato varieties, it might be time to switch to vitamin water. All right, so this video episode of Podcast Awesome was produced and edited by this guy right here. And when it comes to the video stuff, I get a little extra helping hand from our friend Isaac Chase. So thanks for that, Isaac. Podcast Awesome theme song was composed by Ronnie Martin. Musical interstitials were created by Zach Malm. And audio mastering was done by Chris Enns at Lemon Productions.